Here's some advice for the new grad. You know who you are. You've been just graduated, chiropractic college in the last year or two, and now you're trying to figure things out. I had this question that was sent to me from a new grad, Adrian Foote. So a couple of things, right? When you're graduating from chiropractic college or chiropractic university or wherever you graduated from, it's a very, very exciting time. Because now at graduation point, you recognize that there's one thing that you have just done. You have entered into the real world. It means that you are on your own in the sense that you have no one telling you what to do, when to do it, and therefore now you're in a situation where you actually have to make a decision, and that decision is, how am I going to survive in this real world? So here's the things. When you're out in the real world, there is no do-overs. You can't rewrite an exam. The thing is that your clock has already started, which means you've entered this profession. Lesson number one is that you don't know what you don't know. And here's why this is important, because the mindset you need to have is that you have just spent at least 4 to 5 years in a university environment or in an environment where there are like-minded people. You've just literally spent the last 4 years with hundreds of people that, just like you, who are interested in what you do, plus they have the same purpose. Now, you might not agree with everything regards to what chiropractic stands for or what they do as a profession. However, you do have one thing in common, is that you're all excited for this profession. And so, which means that you at least have some commonalities in terms of language and nomenclature and the way you say things that believes, at least in the fundamental, that chiropractic is good for you and is part of your life. However, when you go into the real world, something changes. You enter a world where not many people think the same way. So all of a sudden that you're actually thrown into an environment where how you communicate for the last 4 to 5 years now no longer works. So now you have to figure out, how do I do this? When you enter this real world, you might think you know everything that you need to know about chiropractic or how to run a business and so on and so forth. However, you just didn't have the same experience going into this, because the lead up to the experience of the people you hung out with is not the same people that you deal with. This is the real world, which is people don't know or understand what chiropractic is. So now you have to change the way you communicate. You have to change the way you speak to them and communicate what the value of chiropractic, which is way harder than it was back when you were in university. There are so many things that you have no idea that doesn't work. To have adopting that mindset, just recognize and be open-minded that there are a whole bunch of things that you just don't know and you have no idea what you don't know. That will allow you to explore and challenge yourself to fail regularly so that you can figure it out along the way. And this is a great way to start your career. Most people are not willing to do, because they're not willing to fail, because you have just spent your last 4, 6, 8 years of your career trying to be the best version, trying to get the highest mark. The real world, you're not thinking like that. You're trying to fail. You're trying to fail fast so you can figure things out. So that's lesson number one. Lesson number two is that you have to make a decision. The decision here is that you need to stop being an amateur, which means that you got to stop being a student. You have to turn pro. You're a professional now. You are in this profession, so which means that you actually have to really get off the amateur hour and get into the professional, which means you got to do things like a professional. You have to act professional. You have to act accordingly. You're no longer a student, which means that you need to do things right. And meaning turning pro is that you got to do things that you're not necessarily had to do or willing to do when you were a student, because you had the excuse of that I'm just a student. What I'm suggesting here is that you need to learn to turn pro. Being an amateur allows you to kind of stay within this realm that you don't have to try hard, don't have to train hard, because it's only amateur hour. But when you're a professional, you got to do the things you don't want to do. You got to get in the ring. You got to go make those mistakes. You got to train hard. You got to do the things that you don't absolutely like. That's what professionals do. So this is the transition between amateur and a pro. You have to make that decision early on if you want a successful career path and you want to shorten the road to success. Lesson number 3 is that you need to choose the right strategy. You can't be doing everything. Like, remember I said, going back to lesson 1, you don't know what you don't know. So you have a whole bunch of stuff that you have no idea on. So what that means is that in lesson 3 is that you actually have to choose the right path forward. The idea that you need to learn more is an absolute thing. However, you need to choose what you got to study. Learning more adjusting skills, learning more technique skills, attending all these seminars that doesn't help you doesn't really create more success. The thing is that you actually don't need to study more. You need to actually fail more, which means you need to get your hands dirty. You got to get your hands onto people, which changes people's lives. If you don't know what that feels like, or don't know how to use the technique that you already are doing, learning more techniques in your tool belt doesn't help you. Now, I'm not suggesting you shouldn't attend any more technique seminars. Of course you should, but it's not necessarily the greatest strategy in the world. What your best strategy in building a business, building a career at the beginning, is only one thing at the beginning. I have 4 steps, right? You have a startup practice when you get started, to moving towards standard practice, and then towards a profit practice to a freedom practice. That's the road. That's the roadmap that all of us go through. The startup practice to standard practice, there's only one objective. The objective is get more new patients, period. New patient is the only strategy. You need to get to 0 to 100 as quickly as possible. That is the number one goal. I would focus 80% of my energy in my startup practice to focus on getting new patients. You need new patients. That's the lifeblood of your business and your practice. It's your responsibility. Go talk to people so that you can figure out how to get more new patients. That's the number one strategy that you need to implement. If you choose the right strategy here, you'll get to success way quicker. And my goal, number 4, the work that you need to get to, in my personal opinion, of course, that's not necessarily everybody's opinion, but I honestly, there's a magical number of 100 patients a week. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. Across the world, no matter whoever I talk to, if you get to 100 patients a week, there's this magical feeling that there's a confidence that's being built. There's certainty among how you communicate chiropractic. There's some power to that number. I don't know what it is, but when you get to 100, all of a sudden something changes, right? Something magically changes, and then your focus from focusing on new patients shifts. Then you can actually start to look on, keeping and retaining those clients and converting all those stuff. But right at the beginning, from 0 to 100, anywhere between there, has to be focused on new patients 70 to 80% of the time. The other 20% to 30% also focus on other things. So that is my best strategy for you. Those 4 lessons are critical, especially when you're starting. So new grads, please do me a favor. For you and for the profession, for your success, please implement these 4 lessons. Getting to work just means go and do the work. You gotta put your freaking head down and do the work. You can't expect that just because you are a DC or doctor of chiropractor right now, all of a sudden everything's gonna come to you. It doesn't work that way. You actually have to do the work. Your career dictates by the actions you take right now. From the moment you graduate to the moment of you becoming successful, there's a path. There's some commonalities of the people you've seen successful out there in the real world. Look at them. What did they do? Look at how they actually performed. What was the mindset they actually had? Adopt that. Because you're not like everybody else. Don't copy what anybody else is doing. Just copy the mentality, the mindset they actually had to get from 0 to 100 or get from 0 to success, whatever success, however you define it. But the most important thing is you gotta get to work. When I hired my associates, when I first started, here's the number one rule I always said to them. For the next 6 months to a year, you're gonna have to put your head down as you're studying for the final exam. It's almost like your life depends on it. If you fail the exam, you're not going to pass becoming a chiropractor. That's the type of mentality you need to tackle this. You need to focus, do the work necessary to get you from where you're starting to becoming to where you want. Set some sort of goal, set some sort of milestone that you want to reach, go freaking after it and tip away at it, because that is the ability for you to become successful. You have to be better. Share these 4 lessons to other people that you think deserves to hear this message. I think all grads would take some of these lessons and be able to apply it, and I guarantee you, if you apply it and turn pro, you'll be successful. Thanks for watching this video. If you haven't already done so, that subscribe button, you should press it. And because I want to share videos with you just like this one to help you grow your practice.